Welcome to the Lost at Home podcast. Here are your hosts, Scott Bear and Jeremiah Johnson.
Welcome to the Lost at Home podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And Happy New Year to everyone out there in podcast land.
Yes, 2025, baby.
We did it. We survived. We made it one more year on the podcast.
Yeah, you know, and every time we think we're not going to make it, we make it. And you know what? And
did we just get a new tagline?
yeah. Hey, if you don't think we're going to make it, we'll make it. Question mark?
T-shirt. We got a T-shirt right there.
Yeah. It's still the question mark. It makes you smarter, question mark. Just
it's always a question
We're
mark.
going to make it? So we're starting the year off. Normally we'll usually do like a nice 2024 roundup, a year-end roundup, and look forward at the stories and stuff. We're going to do that next week for our second show of the year, because this week we have a special episode where we were teasing getting an interview, getting one we haven't done for quite a while, and we had the awesome pleasure of interviewing Mr. Alec Tibaldi recently. Now, Scott, you brought him to my attention from a movie called Lazareth.
Yep, saw that on Hulu. I think it's still streaming there as we speak.
Yep.
I should have checked actually before the recording.
You keep going and I'll
it has been a little bit since we talked to Alec. We recorded this interview
right before Christmas.
Ago.
Yep.
And we've been sitting on it because of the Christmas holiday, the New Year's, all that. It just a lot was going on with family and friends, and we kind of had to take a break. So we sat on this interview. We're ready to launch it today, which is why we're all here. Jared's looking up furiously fast.
It is on Hulu still.
It is still on Hulu.
As of when we were recording this on January 5th, it is still on Hulu. Definitely recommend going and checking it out. And you'll hear
dystopian, post-pandemic world. Mother trying to keep her daughter safe from the disease out there.
Ms. Ashley Judd.
Ashley Judd is the mom.
Great job. And actually, the entire cast is amazing in that movie. And you guys, I mean, you'll hear plenty about that as Alec
tons.
talks
In
about,
fact, we need to give a quick heads up.
Yeah.
This interview has spoilers for the movie.
Yes.
So they happen a lot. So honestly, there's no to
the point where
halfway through, pause for a minute and skip 5 minutes. No.
It's pretty. So, and if there's any other reason, there's no other reason to see the movie, then just so you don't get it spoiled, go check it out.
Watch the movie first. Pause the show here.
90 minutes of just of enjoyable horror, dystopian horror. Absolutely, I'm so glad you brought him brought it to my attention.
I like that we just gave our listeners homework. It's like, all right, 2.5 hours of your day today is going to be watching this movie and listening to this podcast. That's a commitment, honestly.
Hey, in this day and age, people don't have anything better to do they?
I mean, it's cold where we are. I mean, I wouldn't have left the house if it wasn't for doing this recording.
It's not like anybody. It's not like we have other content to compete with. There's nothing out there for people to do.
No other podcasts with no celebrity hosts. Luckily.
I know you don't need to listen to Conan O'Brien.
Hey, I listen to Conan O'Brien.
I know, me too. He's my favorite human being on the planet. So.
I don't listen to his long interviews unless I really, really like the person he's interviewing.
Oh, I listen to
all the short ones because they're kind of a lead into his show. So you never know which person he's going to interview on the short ones where they're going to be the next episode on Max.
So my favorite. You mean like the
travel
O'Brien,
Max.
the needs a fan one? Yeah, the ones where it talks to the fans versus.
Yeah, I love the fan ones.
Yeah, so it's funny because I listen to them all, but and we're just going into Conan O'Brien now.
I know.
But the Conan O'Brien needs a friend. Like the thing I like about the reason. So I like Smartlist, but I pretty much listen to like the first 10 minutes of Smartlist, and then it's only if it's a good guest.
I stopped Smartlist because I think I've heard it all now.
And I also just don't think they're great interviewers. Whereas Conan is a great interviewer, so it doesn't matter who he's interviewing. There's people I'm like, I don't know who this person is, and he'll interview him, but he's such a great interviewer, and he's so funny, and he brings everybody out. So and Sona and Matt are amazing. So I will listen to all of them no matter what. And then when you get a really good one, like a Goldblum or a Rudd, it's off the hook. And actually, and then you get some that you're like, I don't know who this person is. I'm going to look that show up and check it out.
I gave up on Smartlist after I realized that their shtick at the beginning is basically the same shtick every single episode.
It is.
They have the same banter where they pick on each other. Yep. Someone's late coming in. Yep. Someone's audio is not great. And then they surprise each other with a guest, which they probably tell each other ahead of time.
Sean Hayes is gay. He likes to eat snack food. Yeah. And Will
and they pick on him a lot.
Will Arnett.
And that's it. Once you watch like 2 or 3, that is the same formula for every podcast.
And it's enjoyable. So every once in a while, I catch up on that. But usually I'm just like, they're not great interviewers. So I'll just the only parts of the interview I like is when they give each other shit during it. I will say the documentary on, I think it was on Max as well, that they did, like the documentary series.
Those were fun.
Those are good because those are like live episodes and you get like the behind the scenes of seeing them so frustrated and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, hey, this is a show just promoting other podcasts, not Alec Tibaldi's movies, which include Lazareth and Spiral Farm.
Not to be confused with Alec Tibaldi.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Alec Tibaldi.
He's an asshole.
Oh my
we
god.
don't even want to talk
yeah.
about him.
Child murderer Alec Tibaldi versus Alec Tibaldi, who we are promoting today by interviewing him and talking about his movie Lazareth mostly here, and we're having a good time with him. And I hope you guys enjoy the interview because we're just going to hear from Alec right now.
Sounds good. All right, welcome to the show, Alec. Nice to have you on.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
I gotta say it was a real surprise when I watched your film Lazareth, and I immediately went to my Letterboxd. And I always like to log my horror movies and just any movie I take a lot of interest in, and just make sure I give it some kind of rating and some kind of review that allows my dumb self, like 5 years in the future, when I see your movie pop up again, going, damn, did I see that yet?
Yeah.
I can always look back and be like, oh yeah, I did, and I loved it,
and
I did, and I wrote that, and you responded. And this is one of the most unique ways we've ever had an interview. No one's ever responded to any of my Letterboxd reviews before. First one out of the gate, the writer-director of Lazareth.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that app. It's fun to see. It's fun to log movies that I've seen, and I do a similar thing where I put where I saw the movie. I don't like to leave reviews. But I like to say where I saw the movie, and then obviously I love tracking to see who's been watching my movies, and if someone likes the movie, I always show them some love back because I think it's nice when someone takes the time to write something, and it's always really meaningful to me.
Well, yeah, and so Scott got me into the movie, so he left that review and let me know that you had responded. So I checked it out. I went in, blind like I usually do with all these movies, but then I started doing a little more research, especially when I found out that you were willing to, chat with us and spend some of your precious time chatting with us. I was really like, I watched it and then found a little bit more information about it. I was really surprised because I was like, oh, this is clearly like a testament to COVID and all this kind of stuff. I love seeing, apparently you started writing this movie pre-COVID, correct? And
correct, yeah.
And then you continued writing during the extent of COVID. I'm curious, first of all, what drew you to the concept of this kind of pandemic before we had really suffered through this, and also while you were writing it, what did the experience of living through the pandemic, like how did that adjust like how you wrote any of the anything going forward?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to make a psychological thriller for my next film. I had just made my first film, Spiral Farm. It was released. It did the festival circuit in 2019. And I knew my next film, I wanted it to be in the genre space because my first movie was not in the genre space. And I'm super proud of that movie and where it went. But there's only so much that a small scale coming of age drama can really go. And it had a really hard time finding an audience, just because the movie's not as accessible as I think people thought it could be. So I think, that movie, I finished up that movie and I thought, okay, I really want to make something that's going to be a little bit more accessible. And I love genre movies. And so I sort of decided, okay, how can I tackle this in a way that will interest me? And I knew I wanted to keep exploring themes of isolation. And my co-writer, Zaya Magnus, and I, when we were sitting down to write this, we were just sort of trying to figure out, okay, what would keep this family unit sequestered away? So we went through all the things, so and then we landed on, okay, what if there was this virus that had happened in the, 10 years in the past? So that's sort of how it happened. And then as we were writing it, the COVID-19 pandemic started happening around us, which definitely informed just, it was very eerie, and it definitely sort of helped us to center the narrative a little bit more and think about things that maybe we hadn't been, I should look back at our different drafts and see, I'm sure there's like a January 2020 draft and then an April 2020 draft, and they're just like vastly different because of that lived experience that we all had.
Yeah.
I think we
so yeah, it was definitely
Alec loved COVID.
Yeah. He was good for some.
Good for some.
Yeah, I have to say, this is awful to say. The pandemic was obviously terrible for a lot of people in a lot of different ways, whether it be, as extreme as death or the mental health tolls that it took on people that had to isolate and all that stuff. But I have to say, I was extremely blessed, because the movie that I was writing suddenly became topical.
Yeah.
And a movie that I thought I had planned to make this movie for like $100,000 in the woods in upstate New York with a bunch of friends. Like, that's how I had imagined making this.
People had to Google pandemic. What is a pandemic? But like by the time,
right,
clearly,
right, and then while I was writing it, this pandemic happened, and then the script sort of got passed around, and it got to these producers who saw the movie as not just being a micro budget movie, but they sort of proposed, what if this was sort of in the $1 to $2 million range? And I was like, yeah, my God, of course, I would love
low budget movie, which is funny. Like, probably like coming from your background, you're just like $2 million is not no money, but that's a low budget movie, but you still were able to, like, compared to what you would, worked with before. That was probably seemed like a million bazillion. I mean, literally a million.
Well, it was a huge leap.
Yeah.
It was a huge leap because my first movie I had made for under $100K.
Yeah.
So this one, going from that budget level to 1.5 to 2 million, which is around the range that we made this, it was a huge leap, and it was super exciting just to have. Just to be on set and not have to carry the food and do every I was able to right. I was
that's the thing. Like when you're in the indie space, you have to do everything. And so actually, one of those things I was curious about, because you're talking about you started the movie in 2019, where you're just have this fun idea about a pandemic movie, and then you started writing it, or rather continued writing it through seeing the divide that the country has had, that the world had. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't nearly the politicization of the concept of a pandemic when you started, and then you started writing it. And I could see were you at all concerned as you were writing it, be like, oh man, I'm going to be pigeonholed and being I'm going to be this is going to become a political movie? Or were you just I just got this idea, I'm getting it out, that's fine? Because I could see somebody going into this and seeing on either side. I could go into this movie and go, oh man, he hates the fact that we have to spray each other down with hoses every time we come back from town. They're like, oh no, but he's also saying it's fake. I could see
right.
I could see any of that, which was clearly not your intention anyway, to begin with. But were you at all concerned when you released it, oh man, I'm going to be pigeonholed into one of these left or right kind of ideologues?
I think a little bit, although I feel the movie is not about COVID. It's about a similar virus, and it doesn't really in the pandemic of the world in which Lazareth takes place, it's not as politicized as the COVID-19 pandemic that we all lived through. So I think that helped, where when I was making that story, I thought, this virus will not be that type of virus where it's so divided, and Lee and her nieces are sort of outliers, and it's more lethal.
It's more reality. All care, all politics leave the window. They go out when it's well, I don't think in the movie does it ever say whether it was it killed 50% of all people or 20% of all people. Was that ever mentioned in the movie?
It wasn't, but we imagined it was between 20 and 25% of the population.
Okay, yeah, that's
how we thought of it.
And I know we don't want to give too many spoilers away, so we'll do spoiler alerts, but we're not going to give too much away. But I know when Owen comes in, you can tell when you can tell it's a real thing, where they're asking see your chest, how did your parents die, all that kind of stuff. Clearly it's very clear he's okay, I'm in this place where people are caring about each other, but it's not so crazy that you're thinking oh, my parents died of this disease or anything like that. So clearly it has been such an important thing in society to where that guy is oh yeah, we this did impact my family, so I can ingratiate myself with this group that might be a little more crazy than I am, but I can ingratiate myself because I understand their concern for this. Or in Lee, and I'm again not giving too much away, but at some point where she's talking about listen, I've seen this go up and down before. Like I've seen it get better, and it just gets worse every time. The reason we are here thinking that it's always going to be the worst is because we're just protecting ourselves, and Lazareth therefore is our all-encompassing protector in that case. So I could see where it's very different than when you say like 0.005 of the percent of the population dies versus 25% of the population dies.
Yeah, I think my concern less about the politicizing of the virus. My concern was just like, will there be, because I really wanted to shoot the movie in 2020 or 2021, and we ended up shooting the movie in March of 2023. Mm-hmm. And I just remember feeling like, there's going to be lots of other movies like this, and will an audience want to watch people masking and isolating? It's such a horrible time for most people. Will this be something that people will want to watch? And so I was just more concerned as the months dragged on. And it took us quite a long time. I had finished the script at the end of 2020, and we were shooting at the middle of 2023. So there was that 2-year period where we were developing the movie and attaching talent and finding our financial partners. And, it just takes a while to set up a movie. So I think I was just concerned that, this movie's topical, and it's part of its charm or whatever is that it's going to come out during this. But the producers I was working with, they assured me they felt like this movie is not just a virus movie, that it would have an impact afterwards, which I hope is the case.
Yeah, I mean, it 100% was with me and everything. And you mentioned the talent, and I want to go into that because your cast was just unbelievable. Obviously, we can talk all we want about Ashley Judd, and I'm not gonna pretend like you haven't already gushed about your love of the movie Bug, which is interviews with Michael Shannon, 2006 William Friedkin movie. So you are fully aware of ahead of this how she can perform this role, but it's not clearly you got Ashley Judd, you're good. But
actually, out of curiosity, did you choose Ashley Judd as your first choice?
There were a lot of different names being thrown around. Ashley, she had been on a lot of lists that the casting and producers were sort of throwing around. And I had I obviously knew who she was, and I had seen Heat, I think. But I wasn't super familiar with her work. And I asked a friend of mine about her because I knew that they'd worked together. A really good friend of mine, she actually was the costume designer on Bug.
Yeah. And
I said, "Oh yeah, we're talking about Ashley Judd." And she stopped me and she said, "Oh, well, Ashley Judd's an amazing actress." And I said, "Oh, cool." And she said, "Yeah, you gotta check out Bug," the movie that they'd worked on together. So I watched Bug, and I was just kind of floored by how good she was. I knew she was a good actress, but I was not really aware of what she could do. And there's a little bit of parallels between our movies. So after I saw Bug, I really fought for her to be our next offer.
That's awesome.
And then, she initially actually passed on the script. So I fought to get the script back in front of her and really try and I just had a feeling about her that she was going to be the perfect person for this. So when she said yes, it was really nice because she had said no. So I was, I sort of had to say goodbye.
I think a lot of it is a testament to the strength of the character writing that you do. And I'm always, because I know you're at least one of the writers on this. I don't know if you were the sole writer on it, but you are listed as the writer on IMDb. But so I know you write and direct your own stuff. But in the writing, the thing that I always look for, especially in horror movies, is the strength of the character writing. And she is such a complex character that I can understand where if you got the wrong person to play it flat, it wouldn't work. And she can play the subtleties so well, because in my opinion, again, not trying to give too much away for those who haven't seen the movie.
We'll start this whole thing with a
spoiler alert.
Spoilers all through this.
but I could see that figure as somebody watching it and being like, oh, this is this very tense, maybe mean matriarchal figure. But also I'm like, the only thing she cares about is is her children and trying to make the world better for them. Like whether she's doing it the right way is different than whether or not she's a good or bad person. So like there's the complexity of like she is not a nefarious human being, even if she is maybe causing some problems with her family. So to get some actor to play that properly, where she can be, this very complex character, it's got to be tough. So when you get somebody like an Ashley Judd, it's got to be, probably a little bit of relief. But I'm also curious when you work with her, not only her, but like the other actors, everybody like that I saw in that were so complex and so ready to like lean into their characters. Like how much of that was exactly word for word your script, you being like, this is exactly what we got to do? Or did you let them have a little bit of like, work with your characters and, work with you to figure out like who their characters really were, maybe improvisation, that kind of thing, revising the script?
Yeah, there was lots of improvisation. They're all really good improvisers. And I sort of tell the actors, you can say what's on the page, but you can also not. I like to do a few takes that are more word perfect-ish, and then oftentimes I'll have them completely, if the scene isn't working, I will immediately tell them, okay, why don't we try it's very exploratory. For me, I've lived with those words for a long time, and sometimes it just becomes boring to hear them said exactly as they've been written. Certain scenes stayed very close to the text, and other scenes, like there's a scene where Maeve, Sarah Pigeon, goes down to the cellar and she yells at Owen. She says, there's a bunch of lines that she says to him when she has the knife pointed at him. It's their second interaction, but their first interaction in the house. And we shot that towards the end. And by then I knew that Sarah Pigeon was an incredible improviser. So I sort of just told her, go off, like have fun. And all those lines she came up with, which is, I found you, I stopped you from dying, I've given, like all that was stuff that she came up with.
It's so
interesting. It was really cool.
Like at that point in the story, that's so toward the beginning, but also the actor at that point already knows everything that's going to happen, and then they're shooting that. So there's a really cool a really cool dichotomy that could work there of being like there's something. And of course she is seen as like the second matriarch in the movie, I feel like, Maeve, where she's the one who's clearly the successor to Ashley Judd's character Lee, and like she has to like almost go out of her way to like point. We'd just be like, hey, Imogen, I got you protected, and I'm gonna like I just know this guy's a bad guy or whatever, even if it's not true. But
one thing I didn't add to the notes, and I did have in mind, I love that the movie had a twist. And once again, we're going to do spoilers ahead of time before we even talk. If anyone's listening this far into the interview, hey, it's on you. There's a twist, and it solidly hits about, I'd say, midway through, about 50% of the way through the movie. I loved it, and I love that it wasn't the hook that you're supposed to hang on to either. It's simply there to progress the plot, unlike an M. Night Shyamalan hook, where it's like, the twist happened, and he wants you all to like clap for him for 5 minutes. It wasn't performatory. It was completely in service of the plot, and I loved that. It's not really a question. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
We're just going to gush a little bit.
Thank you. That's fair. It's very nice. I really tried not to think of it as a traditional twist, I guess. And I think sometimes audiences, or at least from my understanding, certain audience members have felt like, oh, well, I saw the twist coming. And I always feel like that's okay. You should. And it's not that, for me, I didn't view it as that type of movie where you're supposed to be shocked at this revelation. It's you should kind of see it coming, and that's okay. And it's not meant to be something where you're like, what? It's not a revelatory, mind-blowing twist. You can kind of see it coming in the first 20 minutes, and hopefully you stay for the character development and the vibes, whatever. You stay for other reasons. But I never felt like the twist, so to speak, was I hope that there's enough happening where the twist doesn't feel like that's the only thing anchoring you to the story, because if not, it would be kind of lame.
No, like I said, I felt it was in perfect service to the story. It wasn't one of those self.
That's very nice.
On the back twists.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I just got to leave now. Like, I know the end of the movie. I'm like, oh yeah.
Right.
And actually, I'm glad you mentioned the word vibes, because I got some great vibes. Like, and I'm curious because I know people work with DPs and they work on scouting locations, but I also know in the indie space, you don't always have the luxury to just be like I'm Peter Jackson and I want to like make every movie in the hills of Iceland or whatever. So, but that being said, like when, oh my God, like the opening shots and everything with the, we live in New England. We know the feeling of being lost in a forest, like in a foggy, old, like gritty forest. So like when I saw like the first thing that got me right off the bat before anybody spoke was just the vibe, the atmosphere. But I am curious, like, did you have a vision of the atmosphere that you were able to craft and find the right place with your DP? Or were you like, I'm an indie filmmaker, I've got the location, I'm going to revise my vision around this location? Or was it maybe a mixture of those?
No, it was, excuse me.
No.
Sorry. I had wrote it thinking about Maine, which I would spend summers in Maine when I was a kid. So
Feels very
originally I had thought of Maine, and then it became super clear that we were not going to be able to shoot the movie in Maine because it was expensive and there's not a crew base there. So then I was like, let's shoot it in Latvia. I had a friend that was like, Latvia will have this otherworldly vibe for us. So I really wanted to shoot it there. And then the producers were talking about shooting it in Los Angeles, which I really didn't want to do. No. And then we sort of settled on either Alabama or Oregon. And once those sort of became the two options, once California was not an option, Oregon felt really right. We went up to Portland, and right near the city, there are these incredible woods that are green 12 months.
Yeah, the big forest like you would get in like. Oh, honestly, like longitudinally or latitudinally, like whatever.
Longitudinally.
Longitudinally, the same kind of concept that you would get in Northeast Maine, you would get in Northwest. Or like, that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. So it really looked right. And Portland's great because there's a crew base there and there's a great tax rebate that made sense.
Yep.
So Portland quickly became the place that we were going to shoot this. And yeah, it was amazing to go on location, and I actually lived on the set in a RV. So I would it'd be like 6:30 in the morning. I remember on the first day I was lying in the RV, just sort of waking up. It was my first day of shooting this movie. I'd been waiting years to make it. And I just remember waking up and I just heard the like trucks pulling in, the sound of beep beep of the trucks, and it was just such it was an incredible moment of just living in the space that we were going to be making this movie.
It's beautiful, man. The atmosphere is the atmosphere like totally hits for exactly like that. That's where what the reason I was asking is like it feels perfect for like what you wrote. So, but I was also like, well, you might not be able to pick every place you want to write at, so but like it was we did have to. I mean, that house that we found was perfect because it was on a river near the woods. It was a cabin. It didn't have a cellar. That was the only thing, and we knew that there was this key moment, this key part of the script was that the girls kept Owen in this basement. So that we had to build. We built the basement in a different part of that location. So that was sort of the one thing that the house didn't have, but the production designer was able to do a build, which was really fun getting to design it before, and we could put the window exactly where Martine, the DP, wanted it. And that was my first time ever having built a set like that. Yeah, like that's where that sweet budget you were talking about like comes in, where you're like I could just build a whole new house. Like that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, from making a movie that, I mean, I don't even know how much the build cost, but that would have probably been like half of the entire budget of my first two movies combined. So it was, you're just
in there,
yeah,
just to get your money.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, I will say, like, are you? I mean, obviously, like you've had this success with this movie. I mean, are you looking to like stay in the space of like the genre space?
Yeah, that was actually my very next question.
Yeah, okay,
I was going to say,
Oh,
this is
perfect.
a thriller kind of horror movie, and that's our jam.
Yeah.
So we're curious if that is a passion of yours, so if it's an interest that goes past this film, and could we expect more of this from you?
Yeah, I have another thriller script that I'm developing that's casting right now that I hope to shoot next year in 2025. And then I also have a really small drama that I wrote that is probably more similar. It's not a genre movie, and it's probably more similar to my first film. So I have those two scripts, and I'm really excited about both of them. And yeah, we'll see which one gets financed and cast first.
Nice.
Well, yeah, that's cool. Actually, that answers the last question of the next thing we're going to go on to, which is yeah. I feel like which is that's fine, but we're going to go into
Let's use the second part of my number 7.
Yeah. Okay. That's true. Okay. So we're going to go into what we'd like to do is first of all, thank you so much for being with us and giving us all this insight into this awesome movie that we love. This is the point in the film in the podcast where we like to do 10 questions that you've maybe never been asked before in an interview. We're just going to kind of roll through these.
Feel free to answer in whatever length you want, whatever's required.
Yeah, exactly. I will say the first question, I love this because we've been doing this podcast now for 10 years, and
more, haven't we?
Like just over 10.
Oh, this is our 11th year.
Yeah, we're about to go. Yeah, but anyway, so the first one is funny because like you're about 10 years younger than we are based on your Wikipedia entry or whatever. So like, and we understand. We hope everybody knows what a Ghostbuster is, but it is like at some point, this first question we've asked everybody will obsolete.
Yeah.
So
we'll check someone else.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So this is the first question we ask every single person we've ever interviewed.
Yes.
Who is your favorite Ghostbuster? And there's like 20 now to pick from.
It's true. Yeah.
Gosh. I've seen Ghostbusters. I've seen the original.
Yep.
The 1984, right?
Yep.
1984.
Yep. That's the real one. Yeah.
Then I have also seen the Paul Feig 2016 one.
Okay, good for you.
But I have not seen. But I have not seen any of the other ones.
Me either.
I know there was a sequel in the 80s, and I know there were 2 recently.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right. So I haven't seen all of them. I guess it would have to be Bill Murray, right?
Okay, yeah,
that's
perfect.
a great.
You can't. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you just choose Bill Murray for most things anyway. Like, and just be like, yeah, just answer Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd. They're all good. I left literally the one other guy out. Yeah, but, Ernie Hudson is also great. We would have taken all those. Okay, number 2. We're gonna get a little deeper here. If you could pick any director, living or dead, to remake Lazareth, who would it be?
Ooh.
Who fits that style? Who do you love?
God.
I know you love your Kubricks. I know you, but like, is he right for Lazarus?
And once you put a movie out into the wild, at some point someone's going to look back and be like, let's remake that.
Oh yeah, especially nowadays. Yeah. But it's your choice now. You get to choose.
I would love to see a Sofia Coppola version of Lazarus. I guess that would probably just be the Beguiled, so maybe she's already done that.
Oh shit, maybe I remade that movie.
No, I'd actually love to see a female director do Lazarus, like a Jane Campion or a Sofia Coppola or my friend Hannah Peterson, a great up and coming female. I would love to see, because it's such a feminine story to me.
I would say like
I think it'd be cool.
Like for sure, like there's the matriarchal figure like at the top of it, and also the subsequent. And I'm getting a little off topic, like because you like genre movies and all that kind of stuff. Have you ever seen any of the? There's 2 movies named the same thing. We Are What We Are, which was like a Mexican movie and an American movie, and it has. So, like, I love movies where there's a strong patriarchal or matriarchal figure that also is loving and appreciative but also you kind of hate, which I feel like what I got out of your
What's
movie.
what's the name of it? I'll look it up.
So We Are What We Are, which is it was a 2010 Mexican movie, and
Oh,
then
cool.
and they almost I think they pseudo gender flipped it for the 2013 American made movie. They're both amazing. Anyway, both versions of that I would recommend.
We Are What We Are. I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen either version yet.
Ooh, yeah.
They're kind of like they're underseen movies. I would recommend. But if you like the
That
concept,
looks awesome.
the patriarchal figure, anyway. So yeah, there's just one more for our listeners. Just to take that out. So
Man, you had a super deep question. Mine
Yeah,
is
yeah.
number 3. What was your favorite Christmas gift as a kid? And this is totally assuming that you celebrated Christmas. If not, then we could just go with any kind of gift.
any
as a
holiday,
kid.
yeah.
I did. So yeah, we did celebrate Christmas. Was this a Christmas gift? Well, my favorite gift I ever got was my grandma got me a computer, a Mac desktop computer for my room, which was incredible. I think we still had like dial up back then, but it was it was just an incredible gift. I remember it was like
That big, yeah.
I remember, it was
like
amazing.
an iMac or one of those bad boys.
Yeah, it was an iMac. It was an iMac, and it had a screen that moved back and forth in a really cool way.
Yep.
It was a keyboard, mouse. It was an amazing gift. I think that was my favorite gift.
Nice.
All right,
I was not into toys.
Yeah.
I was not a kid that liked toys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you got your computer. The computer can do so much with you. But okay, my next one, very simple too. I'm backing off the tough questions. What's your favorite holiday movie?
I guess it could be any
Oh, yeah, I said holiday. I was thinking Christmas, but yeah, Christmas movie. But
Could be any
Christmas.
holiday. Any holiday
My
movie.
favorite Christmas movie, it's a tie between The Holdovers from last year and Eyes Wide Shut. I consider Eyes Wide Shut a Christmas movie.
Oh,
Good
that's
for you.
so good. Oh, dude.
Now,
That's
shit.
hot. I love that. I love that. I love that take. That's great.
All right. Number 5. Who is your favorite Pokemon?
None of them.
That's a fair answer.
I'm not a Pokemon guy. I don't know, but like this, yeah.
It is.
Oh, Jigglypuff.
There we go. Jigglypuff.
Yeah, okay.
Jigglypuff, the pink one. That's who I'd always. Is that a Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big old.
Okay, I'll pick Jigglypuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his nickname from the cartoon, Pink Bastard.
Fluffy old pink bastard. Yeah.
I choose Pink Bastard.
All right. So number 6 here. Do you know the game Fuck, Marry, Kill? FMK?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you 3. This is holiday edition. Fuck. I'm gonna give you 3 names. Choose which one you want to fuck, which one you want to marry, which one you want to kill. Okay. We got Santa Claus, Krampus, or Will Ferrell's character from Elf. Choose which one you want to fuck, which one you would kill, which one you would marry.
All right. Obviously, we're gonna marry the Will Ferrell character,
Me
Buddy,
too.
because
Me
he's
too.
just the best guy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
But now it's a
I
matter of,
can't-
now there's I love that in your head it's the coin flip of whether to kill or fuck Krampus.
Well, I can't kill Santa Claus. I'm not gonna ruin Christmas, so I have to save Christmas. I'm gonna fuck Santa Claus and kill Krampus.
Okay, cool. That's exactly what I had too. So we're all set on the Christmas traditions here. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're splitting this. So we're still saying the first part, right?
No, I think this is all you. This is just one. Yes, that's good. Yeah.
All right. What's an Aussie stereotype that Americans don't know about? And because you didn't actually grow up there, it doesn't quite
You
work
might not
out.
know about it either, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is a stereotype, but they have really strong coffee, which I love.
That's something I do.
I guess that's not really a stereotype.
You want to ask the second part?
So I made this a 2-parter because when we first talked to you, we were like, how long did you live in Australia? It would change the dynamic of this question. So I panicked and I wrote after this in case you answer for that. Have you ever eaten pet food?
Not. No.
Oh, brag. Mr. Bragging. Mr. Hollywood never had to eat pet food.
Not on a dare, not at a party.
No, never. I remember when I was a kid, we had a cat, and I was always wanting to try just one taste of her food, but I don't think I ever did. remember my mom was like, "Don't ever try it," because she saw me maybe like feeding it and looking at it.
She
But
says
I
it
just
too,
never
like
tried.
it's poison, but the cats are eating it.
Yeah.
You know, there's still time.
We'll check. Like next time you have a movie coming out, we'll check with you again because we're
Thank
gonna
you.
have another interview. We'll be like,
Thank
but
you.
have you still never eaten cat food? All right. Anyway,
Number 8.
all right. So we are okay. You're destined. This is one everybody asks, but this is you're destined to a deserted island. You can bring one movie, one book, and one album. What do you bring?
Oh, this is really difficult.
I know I'm asking you like 3 of the hardest questions you've ever.
I mean, I don't know.
You got to live with one movie, one book,
Yeah.
recording.
There's
man.
someone right now.
It's so
There's
hard.
someone right now
difficult.
who's like wicked.
Yeah, we can. Honestly, that would absolutely work. Yeah.
I want the Wicked soundtrack. Just kidding.
Yeah.
For a movie, this is really difficult.
You gotta watch it for like 30 years, man.
I would say the first answer is The Shining because it's my favorite movie.
Kubrick.
But do I really want to? Yeah, but do I really only want to watch The Shining for the rest? I mean, maybe I'd pick something a little bit more like easy to digest.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is really difficult.
You could learn something new from The Shining for the next 30 years every time you watch it. In my opinion, you could learn something from Kubrick every time you watch that movie. You're like, oh my god, I didn't see that before. 25 years later, you could be like, oh, I never. In my opinion,
to be fair, you could learn something new from Rob Schneider's The Animal each time you watch it.
Oh yeah, you're like, yeah, I still hate that.
All right, so let's go Kubrick's The Shining.
Okay.
For a book, I'm going to say The Guest by Emma Cline, a book I read last summer and have since read 3 times and really like that book.
Nice.
And then album, maybe I would pick like Now 7, which was a compilation CD from 2003.
Now that's what they call me.
I
like
owned Now 7, and I really liked Now 7 because it was just a bunch of different songs.
Yeah,
so I would go for that.
That you just
it was a mixtape.
$18 on. Yeah,
You wouldn't get sick of the same.
Exactly.
You'd get sick of 14.
Yeah, and there was some variation. So yeah, I would do Now 7.
Now sound very specific. I love it. Yeah.
Or the Kids Bop version.
Oh, yeah. Kids Bop 4.
Yeah.
Best version of Livin' La Vida Loca I've ever had. Yeah.
Number 9. What superpower would you pick if you could have only one?
Probably invisibility.
Invincibility or invisibility?
Invisibility. Invisibility. Yeah, that'd just be really cool.
I like it. It's one I've picked myself when we've had guests throw it back. Like, well, what would you do? Yeah, it's a good one.
I did, and then I was wondering, like, am I just a creep? I just want to like sneak into like locker rooms and shit like that.
or maybe not teleporting, where you can move, where you close your eyes and then you're in a different country. Not flight. I don't want to fly, but I want.
I think would be like
teleport.
Right?
Yeah, that would be really cool for traffic. For
just like
not having to
ever
travel.
Think about being in Paris and you're on the top of the Empire State Building. Wait, no, that's not.
So either that or invisibility.
Jumper or Looper, one of those movies. Jumper.
Was it Jumper?
Oh yeah, Jumper.
Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, that was a cool movie.
And he could jump to where he could like picture, I believe.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you had to be like,
it's an underrated movie, honestly.
You had to be smart enough to know geography, and
you could mess it up if you didn't. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of landmarks. Like he'd be on the pyramids, or he'd be on like the Eiffel. Like it's because it was like he had to picture it. Yeah, it was a cool movie.
Yeah, you half remember your college roommate's like parents' house, and you end up with just kind of don't remember.
Yeah. Where you prematurely ejaculated on your girlfriend that one time.
Anyway, actually did already, and we used to do in 5 words or less.
Let's do a 5 words or less. Okay.
Do you want me to? I got an idea.
Go ahead.
All right, number 10. In 5 words or less, describe 2025 coming up.
What from it? I don't know.
In any respect, keep it as broad as possible. Also, narrowing makes it easier.
What does everyone in the industry say about 2025? Like, stay alive until 20. There's like a saying that I'm hoping. Okay, let's see. 2025. I think the box office will be back.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be 6.
No, that
2025.
works.
I'm hoping for a complete rebound of the entertainment industry. I'm hoping for a return to high box office grosses similar to 2019. I'm hoping for more jobs. I'm hoping for more opportunity. I think everyone's been, at least 2023, 2024 have been hard years for this industry. And I think 2025 will hopefully be, my hope is that the dust will have settled from the strikes and all the sort of industry-wide stuff that's been happening. So I'm hopeful that for this industry, we're going to have a really fruitful year.
And I'm looking forward to everything else you're going to be coming out with. And we are definitely holding you to, another chat for the next one you come out with, for sure. But yeah,
only if I positively review it, though.
Yeah. Only you got to respond to him twice, me and him on Letterboxd next time. Yeah, you set yourself up, buddy. But yeah, we are very happy to talk to you, Alec, and looking forward to everything you do, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you guys so much. This is super lovely. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was certainly amazing. I'm really glad we had the opportunity to speak with Alec. Honestly, one of the better guests we've had. We say that about everyone, but
it's very... and the things we talked about after we stopped recording were absolutely incredible. None of you are ever going to be
hyping the part they can't hear?
None of you are ever going to be able to hear this ever. But man, the dirt he gave us on so many people. I couldn't believe he said that about Al Pacino.
He had Epstein's flight logs. It was weird.
Yeah. And he was also like free Alec Tibaldi. I was like, come on. Yeah. Anyway, no, it was a great time chatting with him. He's a great dude. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does next because he has an incredible amount of talent and just I've only seen the Lazareth. I haven't gone back and checked out Spiral Farm yet, but I do need to do that as well. So looking forward to what he's got next. And it sounds like we might be able to chat with him next time he pops something out there, as long as we don't burn any bridges between here and now, or here and then.
All right.
Now and then. There we go.
Yeah, all of those. Smash them together.
We do podcasts good. Anyway.
All right. Well, on that note, next week we will be back with a regular show doing a little bit of a 2024 roundup.
Maybe a little look ahead to 2025. We were just talking about how 2025 might be a little tough to start finding weird news stories, so we might have to get a little creative, which could be good for the listeners because we can't just lazy out and fucking phone it in like we usually do.
We're recording this one day before January 6th. Never forget.
Yeah.
And
that's the one I want to forget. That's
going to kick off a whole bunch of weird news about Trump, which is going to drown out the good weird news stories we like to
and then
cover.
He gets inaugurated on the 20th, and then we just have 4 years of Trump doing fucking bonkers shit.
Yeah, when we had this show going during his last presidency, this show aired during all 4 years of his last presidency. Yeah. And it was hard as hell finding news stories.
It was hard enough, and then fucking COVID hit, and we're like, oh, we're going to have to do like special COVID episodes.
We did special COVID episodes.
And it was just like, now we're just gonna have to. It's more work for us, but we could also get more creative and work on different content, maybe get more interviews and stuff like that because of it. So
sounds good.
It's gonna work out best for you guys.
I got a few more interviews I'm fishing for. So
sweet, yeah. So it's gonna work out best. You guys are gonna be awesome no matter what. You're going to have great stuff to listen to in the new year. So I hope you all enjoy your 2025. And until the next time, get lost.
Happy New Year. Get lost.